Hello and welcome to the D1Baseball College World Series Day 8 predictions. I'm not even going to say it's several minutes of heaven, boys, because I don't know what the heck planet we're on right now. I am Mike Rooney, joined by Kendall Rogers and Darren Fitt and the great Stitchhead, Eric Sorensen. Um, Gentlemen, it's Day 8. We're going to do predictions. We got a lot going on. Fitzy, I thought you wrote an awesome column about, NC State basically has been disqualified from the tournament. And Kendall, I loved your piece last night on Texas and Mississippi State. We can't forget that there are still baseball games going on. But why don't we start, Stitch, maybe you and I can give our takes on what's going on here. And I guess I'll start. I honestly, guys, I've not fully processed all this. I don't, there's so many different things. I will say, Kelsey Riggs is our host on ACC Network who's out here. And I thought she made a really important point that what's going on with NC State baseball will shape the fall and winter sports next year. This is we are way off the trail right now. We've got vaccinated players we think are testing positive. I mean, it's I think there are so many layers to this. I think if I'm a coach out there, I've got to get my arms around vaccinated players testing positive. I'm still very, I don't understand the science around that. So I think where I'm going with this, guys, is I think if I'm a coach in college sports right now, man, I gotta put some really smart people around my program. I guess this is really almost more for athletic directors than coaches. I want to hear scientists talk to my team about, okay, vaccinated people testing positive. I want to hear, I want to, maybe coaches and athletic directors have already done this, but I want to put really smart people around my team and help them understand vaccinations. Because I do feel like there's a lot of fear out there. It's hard. It's got to be hard for an 18 to 22-year-old athlete to get their arms around, what do I do? What's the smart thing to do? I've got a lot of conflicting information coming at me. How do I parse through the science if I'm not a scientist? So sorry about the mad ramble right there, but that's what I'm. You guys are getting a glimpse at my brain right now. It's hard to process all this outside of and Stitch. I'll turn it over to you after this. Just completely heartbroken for NC State's baseball program because that team, those kids, were so fun to watch. I mean, they were a joy to watch, and I legitimately thought they could have won this thing. I mean, they were set up to win this dang thing, and now we'll never know. But Stitch, yeah, so that was a great segue. Go.
Well, going from one bald guy to another, I guess that's our segue.
That's right.
Now, you echoed a lot of things I was going to touch on. People are going to think I'm using a cheat sheet off of what you just said. But a lot of the things, one of the things I thought about that you really rang true that I hadn't thought about really was the fact of getting experts, getting doctors in tight with these teams, especially for the upcoming football season, or because one of the things that I do, and Kendall and Aaron, you guys both know my friend Dr. Kenny, the doctor of college baseball, as I call him. Every time I have some kind of issue like that or any kind of questions, I ask him, and he's always, I mean, he's much smarter than me, but he's always there to give good advice. And I always think to myself, or I was thinking like when Mike was talking just now, yeah, wouldn't it be great just to bring in Dr. Kenny to talk to a group of athletes about vaccinations, about why they're good, bad, or good, or good for you and good for the community and good for the team, obviously, more importantly. So, God, that would be a great thing to do, and I would love to see that. I'm not sure how much my friend Dr. Kenny charges, but maybe we could get him interested. And he lives in the Raleigh-Durham area, so there you go. But no, the other thing, Mike, is the same thing as you. Went through a bunch of emotions, was really sad for the most part, just because, like you, I thought NC State could win it all. Of course, that kind of goes without saying, just judging what we've seen the last few days and the last few weeks, I guess we should say, including the super regionals. This was a team that was easily going to be able to lift the trophy at the end of the week if given the chance. So really bummed about it. And then I got a little angry too, because I started thinking about, like, let's think about Notre Dame hockey in the NCAA hockey tournament, Michigan in the NCAA hockey tournament as well. I follow hockey kind of closely, and and write about it from time to time. And those were two big stories. You know, Virginia Commonwealth basketball was another one for the NCAA tournament in basketball. I thought we'd learned our lesson from this all. I don't know if it's totally somebody's fault necessarily, but God, it just had to be ringing with all the coaches and administrators and athletic directors. Hey, let's get this straightened out. Let's straighten out as much as we can before we head off into the postseason and have something like this creep up on us. So I got a little angry about it too. So yeah, that's kind of my emotions. A lot sad, a little angry, and very bummed out.
Yeah. So yeah, and I was going to add too. I mean, there's two trains of thought here. I mean, obviously, from a strictly rule standpoint, the one thing I will say is that, you know, a lot of people said, well, the NCAA, you know, the NCAA is going after NC State and all this stuff. Well, we know that's not true. Everything that the NCAA has done is in the COVID rule book. You know, one of the greatest misconceptions so far today in the last 12 hours is that, well, they shouldn't be testing vaccinated players. But if you look at the NCAA rule book, which Aaron put in the story and put it perfectly, is if you have an outbreak on your team, everyone is tested no matter what. And so let's not forget, with the vaccine isn't meant to keep you from getting infected. Let's be honest there. The vaccine is meant to keep you from being symptomatic. That was the original goal of the vaccine. So I'm not sitting here saying that people should have to get it, people shouldn't get it. I'm just saying what the original goal of it was. So I think people get a little confused of why NC State had vaccinated players get tested. That's why, because it was specifically spelled out in the rule book. With that said, that's one thing the NCAA actually did by the rules there. With that said, I have an issue with the way this was handled. First of all, if you look at the pregame picture of NC State yesterday in their dugout, like Jose Torres has leaned over the dugout rail. They've got guys who, popped positives playing in the game. I mean, like what?
Yeah, the tests, those results came back after the game, though. I mean, the only guys who were in the game were vaccinated players, and so they certainly, they didn't let them play knowing they were positive, obviously.
Yeah, but they had guys that showed up to the ballpark like Torres that was in the dugout that they knew wasn't going to end up playing. So it's like, how do you not have this information before the team is actually going to the ballpark? And I also have a major issue with dropping this bomb at 1:10 in the morning. I just think, if this story, this kind of magnitude is to be put out there, like you've got to do it at 9. You have to do it at 9 this morning. You have to have the NCAA come out there and take questions. Like, they're going to hide behind medical laws, but as long as you do not mention specific names of people, there is nothing illegal about the NCAA coming out and saying how many positives someone had.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And you're right. I do wish there was more transparency. Absolutely. I think someone from the NCAA or the committee should answer questions publicly and explain what the heck is going on. I'm with you on that. I don't have a particular issue with the 1 a.m. thing. I mean, I think you need to let people know as soon as you know. And a lot of people were still up watching the baseball game, even though it was late. I mean, whatever. I don't care about that. But you're right about the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability is frustrating. And obviously we all hate it for NC State. It stinks. It stinks that if they had been vaccinated, if the whole team had been vaccinated, they wouldn't have been tested at all. And who knows? Who knows if they would have had positives or not? I mean, we don't know where those came from. I mean, maybe the fact that the vaccinated players had extended contact with the infected, unvaccinated players. Maybe that's how you get it if you're vaccinated. I don't know. Nobody knows. But it is too bad for them that had they been vaccinated, this would have been a moot point anyway, even if they had been positive.
Yeah, I would say this, guys, to put a bow on this, it's that the not to just bag on the NCAA right now. They obviously have an impossible job for all of this, right? But I would say that for me personally, this is all overwhelming and confusing, and I'm dying. I need transparency. Like we all have to make decisions for our families, and it's very confusing. And, we're seeing the stories about Trevor Lawrence. That's going to keep coming up. We need answers to these questions, and that's typically not a strength of the NCAA. I understand it. There's every time they open their mouths, there's liability issues. I think I'm aware of that. But, man, for the good of the enterprise, This is not a time to be slippery or clever with words or try to say as little as possible. For the good of everything we're trying to figure out here, gosh, we just need to be able to have open and honest conversations. I think that's what I'm yearning for right now. Is I just want to be part of open and honest conversation so I can get my brain around this. And my concern is that that's not what's going to happen. So.
Yeah, I can tell you that I was talking to a couple of sources this morning, and it does sound like Mississippi State and Texas do not test again until tomorrow. And everything I'm gathering is that that vaccinated players will not be required to test for those two teams. Now, we'll see if things change, but that's what I'm hearing right now.
Yeah, gosh, craziness. All right, so boys, let's fast forward to the baseball that we are going to play. We will have Mississippi State and Texas play today, and the winner will go to the CWS finals and face, Vandy with, Jack Leiter sitting there on Monday night. I mean, that I'm not even sure if I'm ready to unpack that part of this whole thing. But
well, let's touch on that real quick because
can we knock on the wood that nobody from Vanderbilt pops a positive? Let's go now.
There you go.
I think first of all, it's absurd. All the people I'm seeing on the internet who are, blaming Vandy and saying, "Oh, Vandy, they requested this stuff," or like Vandy had nothing to do with what happened in NC State. I mean, they are the very, 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 very fortunate beneficiary of a very unfortunate situation. But it is wild that Vanderbilt has played not very well out here.
Not very well.
Yeah.
I mean, that Arizona game, you're down late, what was it, 6-3 or whatever, extra innings. It's like a bunch of back and forth stuff. They find a way to win. They lose to NC State. They get shut out. Their offense has just been MIA. And then, you're losing to Stanford. 2 outs in the ninth, base is empty. 1 strike away from elimination, and somehow they come back and win. It's like Stanford, kind of gives them that game, frankly. I mean, like, they haven't really played a good baseball game yet. And then they play NC State's skeleton crew, 13-man unit there, and they still only score 3 runs against a guy who's got 8 innings all year. I mean, where's this offense? Where's the Vandy offense? They pitched well enough. I mean, NC State out-hit them yesterday, but, they really haven't played great. And now they get to play for the national title with Jack Leiter going to the first game. And, hey, I mean, one thing that Tim Corbin said yesterday is I don't care how ugly it looks. Like, outcome is positive, we'll take it. I mean, that's true. Like, you can't blame Vanderbilt, but, boy, it's amazing. Just they're here playing for the title considering the way they played out here.
I think one of the things that Vanderbilt has the advantage of is when you have a Leiter and a Rocker on the mound, you don't have to play particularly great. You have to play just well enough, and I think that's Aaron, what you were just pointing to. I mean, I went on Twitter and said I thought Vandy was going to win comfortably yesterday. Not even close to being comfortable, man. That was a close game too. So, but yeah, that's their advantage, and bully for them.
Yeah. So Stitch, why don't you kick us off? Let's do. We're assuming Will Bednar versus Tristan Stevens. I have not seen that confirmed, but
that was going to be my question. Yeah. And if that's the case, which I can imagine is going to be the case, how much more lightning in a bottle does Will Bednar have? He's done so well. He'd had some stretches where he'd been a little choppy, to use a Mike Rooney line, in the recent past, but. Guys, he just lit it up the last time he was here. Can he do that again if he's going to be called upon today? And I think the other thing, I know you guys are going to talk about it some more, so I won't touch on it too much, but the whole Landon Sims thing, he wasn't used yesterday, so you had the idea that they were going to save him for today. So that's a big plus for them. Again, let you guys cover that one. I don't know. Texas is suddenly coming up a little bit clutch. At the same time, so after MSU came back yesterday to tie the game, I was just kind of sitting back in my seat with my camera there, thinking, all right, I'm about to shoot another walk-off win or another comeback win for Mississippi State, because they got the ball rolling down, they got the stone rolling down the hill. They're not going to be stopped. But bully for Texas for coming through and toughening up and getting that big 3-run. Dinger from Melendez. So I think that showed a little toughness on Texas' side. But I'm going to continue with my stringent policy of not picking against Mississippi State right now. So I'm going with the Bulldogs. Lay me some more info, guys.
I like it. KR, why don't you take us next?
It's really interesting. I kind of go back to the 9th yesterday. I think this is actually kind of important. It may prove to not matter, but when you look at the top of the 9th, Melendez gets that big 3-run home run. Well, what happens? Texas has all this, all this momentum. They're excited. Mississippi State's crushed. What happens? Bam, rain delay. And Texas finished that game out. But I feel like that was a huge, just an overall momentum shift moving forward. And I felt like the rain delay kind of took a lot of the wind out of the sails, so to speak. And so I actually like Mississippi State today. I think when you look at Texas, obviously Zach Zubia, Ivan Melendez continue to get big hits for the Horns. That's a game changer. But I think when you look at Will Bednar, Landon Sims, I just think those two guys are going to pitch well, especially Landon out of the bullpen. And I think Mississippi State takes care of business. And by the way, it does sound like Tristan Stevens is likely getting the start for the Horns tonight.
Love it. Fitzy.
Yeah, you guys, you broke it down pretty well. It's a tough one. I mean, I think it's a coin toss game. I'll be different and take Texas just for the sake of variety here because I really think this game could go either way. And, I just like the way Texas has been trending. I think they look very comfortable out here. I actually like how their offense has heated up a little bit, get those guys in the middle going, taking good at-bats. I thought they looked pretty in sync yesterday. And I think their defense is a separator. Ultimately, they're the best defensive team left standing, I would say, now that NC State is out. And that tends to matter. So I'll stick with Texas. I think we're going to see a good bounce back performance from Stevens today.
Yeah, you're right, because Stevens has been so brilliant for Texas all year, but maybe not as brilliant in the postseason. Even in the Super Regional, it was a little bit choppy. It felt like, and but yeah, I'm not gonna give the variety. I'm gonna go Mississippi State just because of Bednar and Landon Sims. But honestly though, those two guys are not why I'm picking Mississippi State. I'm picking Mississippi State because of Tanner Allen. I just feel like Tanner Allen's going to find a way to impact this game tonight. But I think, Fitzy, what you said a second ago is really where my heart is I really love the way Texas is playing. I'm just picking Mississippi State. Texas is, I feel like I've kind of gone back and forth on them all year, and they really are. It's a hell of a club. I mean, they really, like David Pierce has really got this thing going. I think all of us are going to need to get used to Texas being at the top of college baseball again on a consistent basis. And, good on you, David Pierce. I love the direction of that program. So, yeah. But I'm taking Mississippi State.
Yep.
So there you go. Boys, it is the night game tonight, right? 6 o'clock local, 7 o'clock Eastern.
6 o'clock, yep.
Yeah. So, let's do it. Let's have a night game. Let's have an electric atmosphere. We know the Hail State fans will be out in full force. Texas as well. They've traveled well. So that is it. We want to thank our friends at Wilson, Louisville Slugger, D Marina, Evo Shield. They've been so great to us. Fans, make sure you're over in the Omaha Village checking their stuff out. It's new stuff, never before seen stuff, and we appreciate their support through the postseason. So that is it. Day 8, and we got a ball game. See you boys later.
Later, guys.